Okay, well, I feel like I'm going to attempt another difficult topic because, all topics are easy and difficult at the same time. And put my trusted headphones for support. For support or what? I don't know, but I guess to change it up a bit. Yeah, so I had like two different topics, but actually more than two, but I try to limit myself to 5 videos a day because it's kind of like cognitively easier and just easier to kind of to think when I'm recording them. So the topic that I was thinking about, kind of like difficult and not difficult at the same time, it was titled "Writing is going as hard as you can go, as hard as you humanly can go." And what do I mean by that? It's kind of linked to that other video about being brave on the page and not so brave in life. It's kind of linked. It's kind of like chains, chains of thoughts. And writing going as hard as you possibly can go. So, I feel like sometimes in a text, in a prose, you kind of have to feel. If I was Hemingway, I would say you kind of have to feel how the writer is bleeding because it's his famous quote: you have to sit at your typewriter and you have to bleed. And I feel like sometimes you have to kind of feel how the blood is pouring, is dripping on the floor. You're making such an effort that the tears and the sweat and the blood are dripping. But I kind of have a different metaphor for it. Sometimes I feel like you have to feel in a text, in writing, how the author is banging himself against something to kind of let out the stuff that they are feeling. I don't know how to explain. Sometimes you're so desperate to express something. See, I even close my eyes because I kind of have to think about it very deeply. But sometimes you kind of feel, and I feel like that's what makes the prose very strong. Like you're banging against it. You're so desperate to express what you feel. You're so desperate to find the words. You're so charged. You try so hard. And you have to try so hard. You have to try, if you want to be good, and I want to be good, I want to be excellent. I want to be the best I can possibly be. Of course. Not because I'm a perfectionist, but because I feel in creativity and in prose and in any art, you're just striving not for just good enough, but for the best. For the level where higher up. Again, another quote. I feel like another quote from the Diary of the CEO podcast, and I think there was a CMO of Netflix at the time, Bozoma St. John, who said it about Toni Morrison. And Toni Morrison, she said she is up here. She doesn't mince words. She doesn't let you explain stuff to you, hold you to a level where you can understand. It's not reels on Instagram. Toni Morrison is here. Her level is here. And she's not descending onto your level. She's on her level. So either you go to her level or you are not reading her prose. She's up here. And I feel like that feeling of classics of really good authors being up here. They are not explaining, they are not, I don't know, simplifying, they are not making it a soup, making it easily digestible, making it easy to understand for everyone, for Gen Z and for millennials and for everyone. Good authors I don't know, Cormac McCarthy, Toni Morrison, Stephen King, okay, Stephen King is a bit of a because everyone loves him, but they're up here, and Toni Morrison is also and many classic authors, they are up here. They have the level, and you go up to that level because they pulled you to that level. And I feel in writing, you gotta try to do that level and try to pull people to that level. You are not the this is a hard thing because you, of course, you want different people to read your books. Of course, you want to interest different audiences. Of course, you want to speak to different people. Of course, you don't want to be like too intelligent or like too up your own ass. Sorry for for anything, but I feel like you gotta be as good as you can. You gotta have a level, and you gotta try to be as good as you humanly can as an author. That's why I really support when people do like different drafts and people try things and people work on it and work on it and work on it. And I really feel like, yes, multiple drafts are necessary. Yes, multiple edits are necessary. Yes, multiple better readers are necessary. Yes, you got to work on it desperately. You got to be desperate. You got to be intent, passionate, focused. Like you gotta try to do it as best as you humanly can, and you gotta bang yourself against this wall to like metaphorically, of course, so that in your prose you're like as good as you humanly can be. And I do feel like sometimes it's a big effort. It's like a big soul effort. It's like muscle strength, but for your soul. It's a bit like physical exercise for what's inside of you. It's exercising that muscle to the extreme. So, and also what I mean is by going as hard as you humanly can go, is that you can't hold back. This also is the thing about adulting and like becoming an author when you age as well. Like, I mean, maturing and becoming an adult and like growing up in your writing. The thing is, like, at some point you gotta like not hold back. On like you gotta be brave in a sense that like you cannot hold back, you cannot be fearful, you cannot like fear to say stuff, you cannot be like timid and be like all closed up and this I don't want to say this in my book because my parents will not agree with that. Oh, this I cannot say because my boyfriend will be against it. Oh, this is like my people who watch me on YouTube, maybe like 1.5 people who watch me will be against that. Oh, this is like too embarrassing. What would people think? Like, would they think I'm too audacious? Would they think I'm too slutty? Would they think I'm too sex addict or asexual? Or would they think that I'm like uptight? Or would they think that I'm too young? Like, basically, what I'm saying is you cannot be afraid of saying whichever shit you think. You cannot be afraid of saying, of expressing yourself in whichever manner you want. Like, you cannot be like so uptight inside and so like, oh, this I cannot try this. Oh, I cannot try this. This is dangerous. This is dangerous. Like, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but you see what I mean. Like, you have to go hard. Like, I wish I could give you an example because it's very hard to give an example. But I just gotta go hard. Like, I mean, I gotta write what I think. I gotta, and not only me, but like, I gotta, you know, maybe a good example is like sex scenes. Because if you, I personally am not really like good, I think, writer of sex scenes and like creator of sex scenes because of my own limitations. But whenever it's needed and whenever the sex is really moving the story forward and whenever like you really need to kind of like get into it, which I've been like reading in different authors, different books, I feel like it's necessary to really go into it and really like find a ways to describe it which are new and which are vivid and which are like sexy and which are bold. And if you have to go all the way in and you gotta bang yourself and you gotta like be honest and be sharp and be as close to your personal truth as you possibly can. And I feel like also that's why people say that my like it's not close to what I imagined in my head. It's not as close as what I thought because they were too, I don't know, they were not honest enough. I think sometimes they were too afraid to write on the page what they think. They were too afraid to be themselves. They were like restraining themselves when writing. And at some point you got to release yourself. You gotta like go as hard as you can go. Like if you need to go hard to describe, I don't know, the war or like the conflict or the bitter like conflict in a marriage or like this feelings of uncomfortability during a date, or like the feelings of discomfort during, I don't know, woman's cycle. Like if you really need to get graphic, if you really need to get closer to the truth, closer to the edge, if you really need to go hard, you gotta go hard. You gotta go hard. You gotta go hard as you can. And this is what makes good prose. When I'm reading other people's text, and I'm seeing that the person went like as humanly hard as possible. They are like not holding themselves back. They are not holding back. They are saying it all. Even if I'm a different race, different gender, if I don't agree, if this story is unfamiliar to me, I don't like that problematic, whatever, you can always sense when the person went so hard. When they're like saying what they really like, what their soul thinks, what comes out of them, like when they're going hard at it. And if they're saying it and I can feel emotionally that that's true, I'm connecting to that text. I'm connecting to their writing. And I'm recognizing, oh yes, this is your experience. You have been honest. And I can also sense when the person is like redacting, like editing themselves, sorry, when they are kind of like, oh, I don't want to say this, I don't want to say that, I don't want to be too extreme, I don't want to be to this, I don't want to be to that. My editor will not like it, my agent will not like it, those people will not like it. I will offend them. I will offend them. Like and in the end, you have a text which doesn't really say anything, which doesn't really express anything, and you're like, okay, but what did you actually say here? Have you said anything? Have you been yourself on the page? How will people connect to that? But I found it very tiring, of course, because when you go hard, you're like sometimes a bit afraid afterwards. Like, is that too outlandish? Is that too much? This is like this question: am I too much? Is this too much? Like, am I a crazy person? Have I really like went so hard into that shit? Did I really like pour my soul into this? Like, I was so honest. I was so myself. I gave everything, and sometimes you feel empty afterwards, of course, because you tried so hard to pull yourself up to that level. Maybe not Toni Morrison's level, like classic level, but you tried so hard to be honest. You tried so hard to to go as hard as you humanly could. But yeah, this intensity is really important, I feel. Like this strength of writing and this strength of feeling is really important. And that's what I wanted to say.